Arkane Studios is the renowned development company known for critically acclaimed titles such as Dishonored 2 and the Sony exclusive Deathloop. This team has been one of my favourite developers since I first walked the streets of Dunwall, and it is why it breaks my heart that the team will develop exclusively for Xbox from here on out. But that's not why we're here today. No, we're here to talk about the best game Arkane has ever made now that it is just turned 5. And that game is, of course, Prey. Okay, so a little bit of context. Prey was developed by Arkane Austin and released to a mixture of mostly positive reviews. We gave it an 8 ourselves. However, the game has had a bit of a reputation problem considering that it was a fresh and unrecognisable reboot of a series that was cancelled years before. As a result, Prey failed to really find its place in the gaming zeitgeist, and in many ways, it feels like it was completely forgotten. So why oh why would I be sitting here today to tell you that this is in fact the best game Arkane has ever made? Well, that's because it is. Let's start things off with that opener. How can we not talk about it? Prey has hands down one of the best opening hours to a game ever. You prepare yourself for your first day at work in a picturesque high-rise apartment before steadily realising that something's afoot. And of course, this all leads to, and spoilers I suppose, you smashing the window to find out you aren't actually in a sun-dripped cityscape. No, you're in a dark, dank department of a space station hovering over Earth as part of an elaborate and expensive experiment. Dead bodies, abandoned offices, and a couple of aliens later, and you're out on the foyer of Talos 1, let loose in your setting for the duration of the game. Now, a lot of people might say, yeah, that's really good, but that's just 1 hour of a game that could take up to 40 to complete. And those points are valid, but what Prey does, it has a little trick up its sleeve here. It entices its players into a world for the curious. I wasn't going to buy Prey when it first came out. Hell, I had next to no interest in it. But when the PlayStation Store offered up the opening hour of the game, I just had to check it out. Well, that demo certainly done the trick, as before the end of the day, I trekked into town and picked myself up a copy. I just had to know why the experiments were being carried out, what had happened to the station, how could it all be resolved. Reeling players in is something Arkane is really good at. Whether it is the death of a princess and the framing of her bodyguard, or maybe waking up on the beach of a weird island that's hosting the most repetitive murder party around. However, where I think Prey outdoes all of those games is with its reliance on world building over narrative. That's not to say that the others don't have it, they do, but as a more open world experience, Prey in many ways wants and needs Talos 1 to be the story. This is where some of the best environmental storytelling in a game to date comes into play. Every inch of Talos 1 has a story to tell, or more a question to answer. While Talos 1 is largely vacant outside of its killer goo-like aliens of course, Arkane puts a real focus on making each and every space feel lived in, and that allows us as the player to begin to ask questions. What happened here, and what does it tell us about the world? How did this place operate before the outbreak? One location might tell us that the hardware labs department had some inventive ways to blow off steam. Another might show us how a not too distant future can even support a research station like Talos 1 in space in the first place. And because of Prey's non-linear open world structure, we are consistently being drawn from one place to the other, taking mental notes of, oh, I can't quite get there right now, but once I have this thing, I'll come back. Now, the game structure doesn't force you down one path either. It allows us to satiate our curiosity through the gameplay itself. If an elevator doesn't have power, use the glue cannon to reach a higher ledge. Are you lacking those hacking abilities to get through a door? Well, go hunting for the code. Talos 1 is just a big giant puzzle for the players that balances gameplay obstacles and your level of curiosity, letting you solve its issues however you want. Basically, the deeper you delve into Talos 1, the more you get out of it. Elements of this can of course be found in other Arkane titles, but with Dishonored's more singular level approach and Deathloop's often overbearing hand-holding, Prey manages to maintain that balance, keeping things interesting and proving itself time and time again to be one of the densest examples of environmental storytelling. Every single time I go back to Talos 1, I find something new, whether that be a narrative clue or a brand new way to access a room or approach a situation. And yes, to a degree that does fit the description of a lot of other Arkane games, but where they are widening and narrowing versions of linearity, Prey keeps things open for you at all times. And that is why I love Prey and believe it truly is the best game Arkane has ever made. And that's before I even touched on the moral dilemmas the game puts you in, or the Typhon versus scientist abilities you can lean into, or the touches of first-person horror. Of course, it's not a perfect game, there are areas where it can improve. What game doesn't have those? Gunplay could be sharpened a little bit, removing loading screens between departments would have been nice, and let's not get into that ending, honestly, I can't. But none of that overwhelmingly detracts from the moment-to-moment experience on Talos 1, the fun of interacting with its gameplay systems, or the intrigue of soaking up that atmosphere that Arkane captures so well. But that's just my opinion, I want to hear yours. What are your thoughts on Prey now that it's 5 years old? Where do you think it stands in the lineup of Arkane releases? And while we wouldn't be getting it here on PlayStation sadly, is Prey 2 something you're even interested in? Let us know down below, and as always, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're keen for more analytical videos like this one right here, and I'll see you next time on Push Square.